We're here on a review hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. And we are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Jason Zoll is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of Clay.
Melissa Limas with Amarillo Area CASA, along with Dr. Roush.
All right, thank y'all. Okay, are we looking for anyone else that anybody can think of?
The only other person would be Jen Welling. And I don't see her number or anything popping up here. So, and that definitely would not be an 806.
Yeah, no, I don't have the Wellings in this morning, but okay then. So I've reviewed everybody's reports, and let's just get an update on anything new since you all have filed those reports.
With the assessment done by MHMR, they scored him the same. They actually used previous scores for his IQ, so he did not qualify for any new services. As far as working towards them providing services towards his autism and such, that's also the problem because that assessment didn't change his IQ, because most of his scores were quite low except a visual learning score that was kind of out of sync high. We're looking at everything in the 70s and below, and then all of a sudden 196. So that's the situation we're in with that. But the placement is working on getting his welding classes started, and they should be starting within the next few days. The academy just needs to announce the day once they have the complete class set. And they're also working on getting him in with Goodwill for a job and their training programs. So they'll use those in combination. And then once we get that in place, get a better idea of the things that he needs. They took him on a tour of the Sunrise program, which is, for better choice of words, a non-SIL SIL. It's not part of the state's network, but it's a program that's we look at a lot of times for kids that are after they are SIL. It's like the next step. And the reason for touring there was to see if these were the kind of situations that he'd feel comfortable in. And for the most part, he does like the idea, but he doesn't feel that he's ready for that kind of thing. So, but it is giving him a direction to move. And then his meds are being reviewed again so that he can be more comfortable with those and not so much, oh, I'm 18 now, I'm not going to take them, that type of thing. And so it's really, we have to take a direction a little different because the assessment didn't change his evaluation.
Okay. Well, now, did I read correctly though that if he starts the school with welding though, that'll qualify him for the SIL?
It could qualify him for an SIL if an SIL is willing to take him.
Okay.
His other behaviors and such might be an issue, but the schooling and then the job with Goodwill might be enough to have an SIL take him on.
So how are we with current placement? What's our time frame? I mean, are we bumping up against deadlines, or where are we at that?
The classes for welding are supposed to start any day or within a week or so. It's just that the academy hadn't set the start date because they were still waiting on a few more students to make the class.
Okay.
And then goodwill. It's a matter of going through the interview process.
Right. I'm just asking about placement where he's in a group home, correct?
Correct.
So are we up against any deadlines with placement?
And no,
Good.
ma'am, that can be renewed, and we can see about renewing that as needed.
Okay.
That was a question that we had before on that
Mhm.
process, but from my understanding is renewing is much easier than the initial setup was.
Okay. So we're not in danger, absent something new happening, but we're not in danger of losing that placement for him in Houston.
Correct.
Okay, good. All right. Well, that's good news.
And
Uh,
overall, the plan, and I've been talking to my team and Ms. Savala, plan is to try to keep him as much as possible in the Houston area to continue his support network.
Right. Okay. All right, then, Ms. Vala, anything to report?
Your Honor, Clay has a really great team working for him, and I'm glad that Jason's on the case. And my biggest concern, and the reason that I wanted to have this hearing set, was that contract renewal. Because I am terrified of us getting to a situation where he's coming up against a deadline and has to move suddenly. It sounds like that was renewed. I don't know how long that was renewed for. And I would ask that if we find ourselves in a situation where we're going to come up to having to move him, that we set some sort of hearing so that we're all kind of on the same page. It sounds like things are moving in the right direction. He was excited about looking at getting a job. He's excited about these potential welding classes. He still looks and seems really great when I've talked to him. My biggest fear is us running up against some sort of contract dispute and him having to move suddenly. So I'm just asking for a court order that if there has to be some sort of move, that we can have a quick hearing ahead of time, just so we can all kind of know what's going on.
Sure. No, I mean, that's always doable. So if something like that comes about, then all you guys need to do is just notify Miss Katie and we'll get something set. Okay, Dr. Ralph.
I really don't have anything to add. I know Melissa had visited him, was it a couple weeks ago now? And he seemed, to be quite well. I'm planning on calling him whenever he starts the welding class. I was actually thinking I would call him yesterday, but that didn't seem, I know after my first day of school, I tend to be kind of wiped out. So the idea of calling him, I was going to maybe call him later this week, and that's still on my schedule to call him to find out if he's learned any more about getting to that welding program. But other than that, as long as we can keep him in that same housing location, I'm comfortable with everything we're doing.
Okay, Ms. Lemus, anything to add or?
No, not much, Your Honor. I actually sadly wasn't able to have the opportunity to go to Houston, but Tina and Shelby did, and he's doing great down there. He got to spend Easter with the Wellings, and he was really excited about that. He's just doing really well down there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the mission, obviously, is to keep him in that area where the Wellings are and that support is. So sounds like, we've made progress since we were all last together. So far less unknowns. So that's good. Okay, then I will continue the department. Oh, excuse me. Keep forgetting. Plays an adult now. Okay, so we will continue to extend the jurisdiction at his request, and we will set another hearing for August 22nd of 2024, and that'll be on a 9 a.m. docket. So we'll continue placement and hopefully as long as we can. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Appreciate everybody's work on this.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a great day.
Okay, y'all too. Our initial
Thank you, Judge.
permanency hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under finding of good cause and agreement of the parties, and we are also live streaming. And Ms. Taylor is making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Kane Williams is my permanency specialist. We are present ready on.
Jeff Hill on behalf of the mother, Kaylin Riley. I see she's present. We're ready.
Jay Michelson on behalf of the father, Alan Riley. He is not present, but I'm ready.
Stacy Zabala for Adeline and Austin.
Okay. What do we have new since our court report was filed?
Since the court report, I was able to move Adeline and Austin to Colorado with maternal grandparents. And that is it. Since the court report.
All right, this is with maternal grandparents, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, what progress, if any, have we made with parents?
Kaylin has made some progress. She's done about half of her parenting classes. She did drug test on Friday, but the hair follicle came back as insufficient quantity, so they didn't take as enough hair that they needed. And I don't have the urinalysis back yet. And then we are working on finding her a new therapist and a substance use evaluation, like an OSAR equivalent that she can do in Colorado. Alan did half of the Fatherhood Fire parenting class program, but he missed too many weeks, so they had to drop him from the class. And he has not made any other progress that I'm aware of. Kaylin has had one in-person visit since the kids were moved last week, and those are going to be weekly and supervised by Jill Phillips, who's grandmother. And then Alan Riley, I've been told, has a no contact order against any child under the age of 17, so he is not having any visits right now.
And Judge, Ms. Williams had asked me about that. I looked it up. That's due to criminal charge. He has a bond condition on that.
Okay, so since we're at our initial permanency hearing, let's just go over real quickly what all mom needs to complete.
Like I said, she's in the middle of her parenting classes, so those are going well. And then she was doing individual therapy at the start of this case, but she's no longer able to go back to that therapist, so we're working with her on finding a new one. And then the substance use evaluation, since she can't do an OSAR in Colorado, we found a couple virtual options. It's just a matter of paying for those that we're working on with St. Francis. And then her weekly visitation and random drug tests. This last one on Friday is, I believe, the second random drug test she's actually submitted, and then she submitted the court-ordered one back in December.
Okay. How is your communication with her?
It's decent. We mostly text. I'm able to talk to her about once every 2 weeks or so. She works a lot too, so she's busy.
All right, Mr. Hill.
Morning, Judge. So Ms. Riley is doing well. She is doing the services she can do, and as Ms. Williams stated, they're looking to try and figure out how they can get the services done that aren't easily provided to her because she's not in Texas. She's had the same full-time job for 9 months now. She works a lot of hours. She does not have a driver's license or car right now. She owes a lot of fees to get her license back, so it's going to take her a while to get her license back, but she is going to get it back. She's working on that. It's really just a function of how much money she can save to apply towards the costs to get it back. She's very happy that the kids are in Colorado near her. She's got the 1 hour per week supervised visits. She is asking the court to if the court would authorize more visits for her, since she is working her service plan and making good attempts to do what's being asked of her. She has asked me, she does indicate that she lives in Colorado. Marijuana and marijuana products are legal there. She does use marijuana products, and she would like some clarification from the court whether or not that's going to be acceptable in this case. I've explained to her that it's not a positive, it's not a good thing, but my understanding is that you can't terminate for marijuana use alone. But if you could clarify to her what you're going to accept or not accept, that would greatly inform her on how she needs to conduct herself moving forward.
Well, clearly, Ms. Riley, I mean, I have no jurisdiction over, what people in Colorado do. The biggest concern about, marijuana usage is just, it is a substance. Okay. And, I understand in the state of Colorado, it's legal, just like drinking is, there and here. No, it isn't the policy of the department in this state to terminate parental rights for marijuana usage alone. Okay. If we have other issues going on that can be coupled, as far as coupled with marijuana usage, that can sometimes affect what I might do. But just the marijuana alone probably doesn't put us over that threshold. But I'm just telling you, you've got your kiddos have got some delays, they've got some kind of special needs, and this court would like to see you be at the top of your game if and when it's time to return the children home. And whether or not you're at the top of your game, if you're under the influence of marijuana, it's just like, are you at the top of your game if you're under the influence of alcohol? And the answer is probably not. But, I guess that I don't know how to, give you a better answer than that. I think it's more a question of, have you worked the other services? Are you maintaining stability, maintaining housing, employment, all the things that children need? So if you're doing well on all those other things, and if it's just kind of occasional use or recreational use or something like that, then it's not going to likely be a factor. But we need all the other pieces to fall in place. And your driver's license is a big deal, because you need to be able to get children where they need to go.
Judge, if I may address one thing, that Mr. Hill was asking for as mom. I know he's asking for some extra time on visitations. And I understand marijuana is legal up there. We also had a pretty high positive cocaine hair follicle back in December, and then a marijuana UA, and then 2 missed drug screens in between there. So we would ask that we get this hair follicle situated. I believe they said it was messed up, so they couldn't test it the other day. But order another hair follicle, see where we are on that, and then we can discuss moving up visits at that time. But due to the nature of this case and the levels that the children had when it started, and I understand they weren't with mom at that time, but the other substances in the system still give us some concern.
Sure. And that's concern of mine. So, Mr. Hill's question was about marijuana, but obviously, Ms. Riley, if your drug screens come back for other substances, we've got a lot bigger problem. So I'm kind of assuming that the question is being asked because probably she's going to test positive for marijuana, hopefully for nothing else. But let's get the hair test back so we can get that behind us. And we haven't gotten the results of the UA. I'm not, until we have those back, I'm not real comfortable changing anything about visitation. But if those things are within, I mean, if we don't have any other substances and it is positive only for marijuana, then I don't have a problem with the Department of St. Francis staffing to increase visits. Is placement supervising? Is that what's going to happen now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't have a problem with that as long as we don't have something else going on. But Ms. Riley, it's really important that you drug test when we ask you to. So I'm just telling you, if we up these visits and then you start missing drug screens again, then I'm going to give them the authority to pull back on that. Because it's one of the big reasons why we're involved. So it's a really important thing that you go timely for drug testing. So we're not going to change anything today. We'll see how it all pans out. But for Ms. Williams and Ms. Martinez, if those come back within acceptable parameters, then we can go ahead and increase the visits. All right, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've had no contact with Mr. Riley. I'm unaware of his current status. I understand that he had an initial contact with the caseworker, I believe, at the end of March, advising that he had been released from custody. I also believe that was with a new telephone number, which he has not provided me. So that's all the information I know about Mr. Riley at the moment.
Okay. And Ms. Bella?
Your Honor, the kids just got moved on the 16th, and grandparents seem very appropriate and supportive. Everybody's getting settled in. I think that Addie started school yesterday, and I'm excited they're with family.
All right, and I am too, and I'm pleased that they've made the move and transition and that they're with grandparents. So, and Ms. Riley, obviously it gives you a much greater opportunity, to bond with the children again and to be a part of their lives and be a part of, getting them back into your home. So, all in all, it's a very good thing. Okay, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will continue placement with the grandparents. We've talked about mom's visitation, so we all know what we're doing about that. And our next review will be on August 15th of 2024, and that's on a 9:00 docket. So today I'll make a finding that it would be a continuing danger to return the children home to either parent, but we are at least working in the right direction with mom. So I'd find that she is in compliance with her service plan. I'm going to make a finding that Mr. Riley is not this time. And so I'll see everybody back August 15th.
And Judge, can we go ahead and get that makeup hair follicle order?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't really put that as part of my ruling, but I know I talked about it. So yes. We need to get that cleaned up and get that done. So Ms. Riley, I'm going to order you to appear for that retest when Ms. Williams, lets you know that we need to do that. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Y'all have a good day.
You too.
Initial permanency hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Mavis Apuko Asante is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Mom, Melissa Cradaville, my client is present and we are ready.
Your Honor, Cody Pearl for Joseph Ray. I am present. I believe he is in jail.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Leland.
We've lost mom. Well, she's coming back in. We'll watch for her. All right, then. What do we have new since the court report was filed?
Okay, since the court report was filed, Leland is doing very well. He's reaching all his milestones and all his needs are met. And then with Alicia is unwilling to start any of her services. She reported to me 2 weeks ago that she's not ready to be a parent, and she claims she has cancer. But then she didn't provide any paperwork to prove what she was saying. She had a doctor's appointment today at 2:00, but she texted me this morning and said the appointment has been rescheduled to May. And she told me she came back from rehab in February, and in March she tested positive for marijuana, and she keeps telling me that she uses marijuana for numbing her pain. So she's unable to stop using marijuana, but with the other drugs, she had stopped. But this month, I've not been able to get hold of her to do a UA test. And she's refusing to answer all my phone calls. Sometimes she'll answer, sometimes she'll just refuse to answer the phone calls. And she'll keep leaving the place that we place her to, and she'll go to other places where you can find her. You call her several times, and then there'll be nothing. She wouldn't even answer the phone for you to even ask her what she's been doing. But basically, she has done nothing on her case plan, on the service plan. Every time you ask her, she'll tell you, I'll do it next week, but nothing has been done. So we did a home study on the paternal side of the family, and Miss Lemon and then her son were the ones that we did a home study on. But Miss Lemon is up in age, and we were concerned about her age. So TP asked her to contact the doctor, for the doctor to write a doctor's note to see how she will be able to care for Leland whilst Roy is out working during the daytime. So basically, that is all that I have for Alicia. And then with Joseph is still in jail, and we don't know when he's going to have his cases adjudicated for him to come home. But he's still there as at last week when I went there to visit with him.
So I'm sorry. So he is in Potter County Jail right now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And isn't that on a domestic violence charge against mother?
Yeah, he has 3 cases. Yeah. They were all assault cases on Alisa.
Has mother been able to obtain any kind of stable housing?
Yes. When she came back in February, we moved her to a family member's house, and she was stable there, but she stayed for a week and then she would leave. And then you call her, she wouldn't answer the phone, and we'll try it and locate her and bring her back. And then she'll stay for a week and she'll leave again. Last 2 weeks, I went and visited her at that home, and she left. I think I went there on Thursday, that Thursday afternoon. She left. She said she was going to visit with a friend, and she never came back until like over the weekend. And she stayed for the weekend, and then the lady that she was staying with had to go somewhere, so she wanted her to drop her off with a friend, and she's never been back. So she's been missing and coming back anytime that she wants. She doesn't want to stay in the house that we put her in.
So the answer would be really that she's not maintaining stable housing.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Sapien?
Thank you, Judge. I do join in Mavis's thoughts on Ms. Cradaville. I have had the opportunity to discuss with her the consequences, the possible consequences of not following the service plan, and the importance of following the service plan, staying in communication, and being where you're supposed to be. This new medical issue has come up. I'm hoping she has some answers for that in the beginning of May. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Ms. Cradaville, can you unmute for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't want to get into your medical stuff in any specificity while we're on YouTube, but it's important that you follow through with some documentation. You can give that either to your attorney or to Ms. Asante, but we kind of need to know what's going on with you, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you haven't really started any other service, so, you know, you're going to run out of time. That's the problem. You can't wait till the end of the case to try to get everything done.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you intend, if you want Leland back with you, you're going to have to get started on all this.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't want Leland back with you, that's something you need to talk to Ms. Sapien about.
Yes, ma'am.
To your lawyer, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, Mr. Purtle, anything else to report?
No, Your Honor. I've told my client to complete whatever services he can do in jail.
All right. Ms. Zavella?
Your Honor, I am always glad when we've got active family members, and I believe that the uncle and the grandmother who had this home study out, I believe they're visiting, and I'm very glad for that. I do have some reservations. Leland is 5 months old. Just right now, the goal is reunification, but we're not seeing any progress in terms of parents. So I'm looking at the very realistic possibility of a long-term placement with a 5-month-old and I don't know if I have the ages exactly right, but 60 something and either almost 80 or 80. I don't see that being a realistic long-term solution. I'm concerned about that. If it was something that was like, we need a placement for a year until parents get up. So I guess at this point, I know there's some additional information that's needed from the uncle and the grandmother. I would just ask that Leland not be moved unless there's an agreement or a court order once that information comes in.
Okay. I think that's reasonable, based on the concerns. So, all right, then I will continue, the department.
Judge,
Yes.
if I may, can you please order Alisa to go for another rehab? I think the first one she did in Dallas she did just 30 days and it did not help. She came back and still tested positive. So if we could get her to go for a longer time, so that at least by the time she comes back, her system is clean and she wouldn't be interested in using any more drugs anymore.
Is all she's tested positive for since then is the marijuana?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't know that rehab is what Ms. Cradaville is needing right now. And I'm not aware of any other narcotics besides the use of recreational marijuana.
Did she ever have a drug screen that was positive for
Meth?
I know there was some concern about meth, but when we started.
She's used meth since she was 13 years. So I don't know right now because she's been, I've not seen her for the last 2 weeks and I ordered a drug screen for her, but I've not been able to locate her to send her to drug screen. So I don't know what she's been doing. And she's been going to places where people use drugs. So I'm suspecting.
Well, okay, since she's here today, then Ms. Cradaville, I'm going to order you to go drug screen today before 4 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you can't get there, you need to let Ms. Apuko Asande know so she can arrange for transportation for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you get there?
Yeah, I can call someone.
Okay. It's really important you go do that. And I'm going to order you to do a hair and a UA.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm not going to make any decision about any kind of further drug treatment until we get that back.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue placement. Find that there would be a continuing danger to return the child home, and impossible to return the child to father at this time. I will order mom to hair and UA before 4 o'clock today. And I will find that she is not in compliance with her service plan. With respect to father, you know, I suppose he's in compliance with what he could actually do in jail. So, okay, then I'll see everybody back on August 15th. On a 9 o'clock docket for our next review hearing. Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Cradaville, be sure to be there before 4 o'clock today.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We are here for an initial permanency hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming. And Ms. Taylor's making our record. Okay, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Nerdy and Graney is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Jay Michelson on behalf of Jessica Reed. I do not see her here, but I'm ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Xander.
Okay, Ms. Ungrini, good morning. What do we have that's new since your court report was filed?
Since court report is e-filed, for Jessica, I just received that she is being inconsistent in contact with me. So she is contacted that she wanted to do services, and then after a few weeks, she said that she's not going to do services, and she wanted to relinquish the rights, and then she's, changed her mind a lot. So she's inconsistent with doing services. But I do actually refer her to parenting class, and but I did not receive anything from parenting class, and she didn't show up to the parenting class too. So, and her drug screen is tested positive with meth. So, and
When was the last drug?
that was on March 20th. Yeah. I haven't been in contact with her this month for the drug screen. Yeah, she refused to talk to me, and she wasn't really responding on my text or my call and all that stuff. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And any information, anything new with Mr. Austin?
Mr. Austin is, actually, when I went over with Jessica with the service plan and she signed for it, she told me that Danielle Austin is currently in jail. And I sent a letter to Danielle Austin. I haven't get any response from Danielle Austin.
Okay, so we think he's in jail in Oklahoma.
Yes.
I think we ought to be, he's an alleged father. I think we ought to be maybe doing some genetic testing.
I haven't, I checked and I called and he's there. Yeah, could be. But Jessica insisted that Daniel Austin was the father of Xander. Great. So
I understand. And because he's incarcerated, I think we need to appoint him an attorney. But I just soon get the genetic testing back first before we do that. He hasn't requested an attorney, but I'd like to get it set up for that so we know.
Okay.
I'm good with that, Judge.
Paternity test, yeah.
So I'd like to do that, and then if he is the father, then we will immediately appoint an attorney at that time. Okay. All right. Xander doing okay?
Xander's doing well in placement, bonded with foster parents, and up to date with medical and dental. And on May 1st, he's going to have a first dental appointment. So he's currently teething, so he's growing to be a big boy now.
All right, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've had no recent contact with Mrs. Reeb. I noticed that most of the services were either scheduled at the end of March or the beginning of April. And I believe Nutri gave us a brief overview of Ms. Reeb saying that she didn't want to do services. She has not told me that. So that's all I have to report.
All right. Thank you, sir. And Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, Xander is doing wonderfully in placement and getting everything that he needs and thriving. And I do recommend that placement continue.
Okay. Question: is this potentially long-term placement?
I would love to be if that opportunity arises.
Also, Your Honor, about visitation, Xander actually had a visitation with the grandma and a sibling, Noah. And I spoke with placement, and placement also told me that they are really willing to maintain sibling visitation in the future.
Okay. All right, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the child's current placement. Find that there would be a continuing danger to return the child home at this time, and impossible to return to the father. I will find that the mother is not in compliance with her service plan, and that I guess that father is, since he's in jail. There's very little that he can do, but and I'll see everybody back August 15th, 2024 on the 9 o'clock docket. That's the day today. Seems to be the popular day.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you,
We are
Judge.
today set on our final in this case. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming and Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present, ready, Your Honor.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Blossom Lewis. My client has executed, and I believe it's been filed with the court already, an affidavit of relinquishment. She will not be present today, but I'm ready to proceed.
Jeff Hill, on behalf of Father Jesus Torres George, likewise, he has executed an affidavit of relinquishment that I provided to Daniel Trout this morning. I do not expect him to be present this morning, him being Mr. Torres.
Stacey Zavala on behalf of Sabian.
Okay, Mr. Trout.
Yes, ma'am. We call first witness to be Haley Jordan. And does the department keep regular records in their cases?
Yes, we do.
And are those records kept in ordinary course of business?
Yes, sir.
Are the entries in the records made at or around the time the events occurred?
Yes, sir.
Are those entries made by someone with personal knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Do you have access to those records?
I do.
Are you a custodian of records?
Yes, sir.
Have you had the opportunity to review the records in this file?
I have.
Are the removal affidavit and the investigative reports, are those made parts of the record?
Yes.
And are those filed with the court?
Yes, sir.
Have you reviewed those documents?
I have.
Now, Ms. Jordan, the original investigator and supervisor no longer work for the department, is that correct?
Correct.
And that's why you're here testifying as to the business records.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us how the department became involved in this case?
Yes, we became involved on January 13th, 2023. The concerns were specifically domestic violence, concerns for Blossom's mental health, and physically concerns with her possibly physically harming the baby.
And you've mentioned Blossom. Is that Blossom Lewis, the mother?
Yes, it is.
Did the department meet with the parents of the child?
Yes, we did.
And who did the department find out was the father of the child?
Jesus Torres.
And they were able to meet with both parents?
With both parents, yes, sir.
Did the department attempt in the beginning of this case to work with the parents in order to try to prevent a removal?
We did.
And in what ways did the department try to work with them?
The case was originally referred to family-based safety services.
And was that mainly with father at the time or with mother?
Father at the time.
Okay. And was father at the time, was he willing to work with family base?
He was.
Did he state throughout the case, did he state that he was going to move away from mother, be done with mother, and they weren't going to be in a relationship?
Yes, he did.
Were there concerns throughout the case with mother's mental health and lack of her working services?
Yes, there were.
Okay. Did mother ever admit that she had some mental health issues and needed to possibly work some services?
Yes, she did.
Okay. So we were working with them to try to prevent removal. What changed?
Father moved back into the home with mother in Amarillo.
I'm just going to interrupt real quickly because of our schedule today. If they've relinquished, do we really need to go through all this?
Well, I just wanted enough on it to where if something came up down the road, Your Honor, we're just gonna get to the end of it.
Okay. All right.
toward the end in the reason for removal, was there an incident that occurred at the home?
Yes, sir.
And had mother left the house before police arrived?
Yes, she did.
And was father eventually arrested on a warrant from another county?
Yes, he was.
And there was nowhere to place the child at that time?
Yes, sir.
The department feel that it was in the child's best interest at that time due to nobody in Amarillo to be able to take the child, and it was in the child's best interest to remove?
Yes, sir.
And father was arrested, mother was on the run,
Yes, sir.
and that was in the child's best interest?
Yes, sir, it was.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Sapien, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Hill?
No, ma'am.
All right, and Ms. Zavala?
No questions.
Okay, Mr. Trout, anything further of this witness?
Nothing further from Mr. Jordan, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Jordan, free to go?
No objection.
Thank you.
No objection.
Thank you.
No
All
objection.
right. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. All right, and you can call your next witness.
Call Abigail Lawrence, Your Honor. And how are you familiar with that case?
I am their caseworker.
And did you receive the exhibits that I sent out just a while ago?
Yes, I did.
And Your Honor, well, sorry, I'll go ahead and ask a few questions before I do that. The first one that you received is the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment for the father, Jesus Torres. Do you see that one?
Yes, sir.
Did the respondent father, Jesus Torres, did he execute the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment?
Yes, he did.
And did he execute that on the 22nd day of April?
Yes, he did.
2024. Did the respondent sign the relinquishment?
Yes, he did.
Were there two witnesses to the relinquishment?
Yes.
Is it notarized?
Yes, sir.
And has the department consented to being the managing conservator of the child?
Yes.
Judge, I'd ask to bench file the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment of parental rights as to the father, Jesus Torres, that Ms. Lawrence just testified to.
All right. It will be admitted.
And I'd ask to be marked exhibit number 1. Ms. Lawrence, is the department asking today to terminate the parental rights of Jesus Torres based solely upon his affidavit of voluntary relinquishment?
Yes, sir.
And do you believe that's in the best interest of the child?
Yes, I do.
Do you have what's marked as exhibit number 2?
Yes, I do.
And tell me what that is.
That is the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment of parental rights, signed by Blossom Lewis.
Are you asking the court today to terminate the parental rights of the mother, Blossom Lewis, based upon solely upon the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit exhibit number 2, the voluntary relinquishment for mother that Ms. Lawrence just testified to.
All right, and just a clarification, because it's something that I probably said. So I'm only bench filing 1. Mother's has already been filed.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, very good.
And Ms.
All right.
Ms. Lawrence, do you believe that terminating mother's rights based upon the voluntary relinquishment is in the best interest of the child?
Yes, I do.
And the plan is to allow paternal grandmother to eventually adopt once all licensing and everything is completed.
Yes, sir.
And she's here today, so we'll ask her, but conversations with her, they are interested, paternal grandmother and grandfather are interested in adopting.
Yes, they are.
And that is what was agreed to at a mediation in which the settlement agreement's been filed.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Sapien?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Lawrence, Mr. Trout touched on it briefly, but were you present at the mediation on April 12th?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and both my client's relinquishment and Mr. Hill's client's relinquishment came from that agreement, the agreement that was made on that day. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Hill?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Zavala?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Trout, anything further of this witness?
Not from this witness, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, do you have any further witnesses to call today?
Yes, ma'am. I would call Rosa Rivas real quick, Your Honor. And
All right.
you are Jesus's mother, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And just for the record, who is sitting next to you?
My husband,
And what is his name?
Julio Rivas.
Okay. On April 12th, we had a mediation. Did you attend that mediation?
Yes, we did.
And did your husband attend with you?
Yes.
And it was discussed at the mediation that your son, Jesus Torres' father and mother, Blossom Lewis, would relinquish their rights in order to allow y'all to adopt Sabian. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you're in agreement with that arrangement. Is that correct?
Yes, yes,
And that is y'all's plan.
yes,
The child has been placed with you since the beginning of this case?
yes, he has.
Okay. Now there were some agreements made during that the department's not party to, that after adoption, you and the parents will work out some possible visitations.
Yes,
Okay. And that is what y'all agreed to also, correct?
yes, we did.
No further questions, John.
Okay, Ms. Sapien, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Hill?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Zavala?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Trout,
Yes, ma'am.
if you said it, I missed it, but is the department waiving all other grounds of termination other than the executed, filed, and admitted affidavits of relinquishment?
Yes, ma'am. And I think I actually worded it's based solely on, Your Honor. I don't think I said I waived them, but yes, ma'am, we do.
All right, then, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, department rests.
Department will rest, Your Honor.
And Ms. Sapien, anything to present today?
No, Your Honor. Rest and close.
All right, Mr. Hill?
Rest and close.
All right, and Ms. Zavala, anything to present?
No, Your Honor.
Zavala, you have a recommendation to make.
Yes, Your Honor. I do believe it's in Sabian's best interest for the parental rights to be terminated today. He is thriving with his grandparents, and I believe that the adoption in the future will be in his best interest.
Thank you. At this time, then, I do find by clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between the child and his mother, Blossom Lewis, and also his father, Jesus Torres, based on their fully executed voluntary affidavits of relinquishment of parental rights, and under the best interest, Texas Family Code 161001B2. I will name the department as permanent managing conservator. I will continue the child's current placement, and I'm going to order that there be no change in that placement unless there is an agreement or some further court order to that effect. All right, I will dismiss all court-appointed attorneys after the de novo and appellate timeframes expire, with the exception of Mrs. Zavala, who will remain as the child's attorney and guardian ad litem. And counsel, as always, be mindful your de novo timeframe does begin to run since I've rendered an open court. And also, if you're instructed to file a notice of appeal, please don't do that until a final order is signed and adopted by the referring court. All right, I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. Appreciate your work in mediation, and everybody's free to go unless you've got something else with me.
Judge, I got one more question before we completely go on this one. I just thought about it. I don't know that we ever adjudicated Jesus. If we need to adjudicate him based upon his voluntary relinquishment stating he is the father.
Okay, hang on. Let me look back at my notes. I'm sorry, I should have checked that. Okay, Ms. Taylor, let's go back on the record and let me amend my ruling. I reviewed my notes and it appears that we did not previously adjudicate him. So, I will adjudicate Mr. Torres as the father of the child is based upon his acknowledgement in the voluntary relinquishment that he is the father of the child, nor did he ever request genetic testing in the case or deny that he thought he was the father. So I will establish the parent-child relationship between he and the child, and then, as stated earlier, we'll terminate that based solely on his voluntary relinquishment of parental rights.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, my apologies. I just didn't check that, and I don't know why, for some reason I thought we'd already adjudicated him, but anyway, we're good now, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry about that. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Judge.
We're here to resume our final in this case, which we commenced, I believe, on March 26th, and recessed after some testimony. We were awaiting, I think, some genetic tests. And so I think that's now come in. One of the named fathers, Landon Turner, was excluded by genetic testing. And so he has now been dismissed, and his attorney, Ms. Grant, have been dismissed from the case. So we're here to resume everything. We are conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Child for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, present, ready, Your Honor.
Natalie Archer for the mother, Vanessa Williams. I'm present and ready, and my client is not present today.
Savannah Kincaid. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Jeff Hill on behalf of alleged father Nick Langham. Judge, he's not present. I've had no contact with him. I'm ready.
Savannah Kincaid on behalf of Mr. Watkins. I'm present, but I haven't had contact with him and he's not here.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of alleged father Justin Edwards. I have not had contact with Mr. Edwards either, but I am present and ready.
Jerry Morales on behalf of alleged father Bryce Hines. Your Honor, I have not had contact with him. I do believe he may be incarcerated. I wrote to him at the Beto unit, but I have not received a reply. I am ready.
And Lorraine Lucero on behalf of the unknown father, Your Honor, I'm present, ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Willow.
All right, thank you. Okay, now my recollection is Ms. Williams has executed a voluntary relinquishment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Trout, then you can proceed. Who are you going to call?
I'd call Rodolfo Flores. And how are you familiar with that case?
I was the assigned investigator during the case.
And how did the department become involved in this case?
The department received a report, I believe, September 15th, indicating that mom, Vanessa Williams, had tested positive for marijuana on the day of delivery.
Okay. And were you able to make contact with the mother?
Yes, I was.
And in regards to the allegations, were you able to speak with her?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what was mother's comments as far as was there drug usage or not?
Mother admitted that she had been smoking marijuana throughout her pregnancy.
Okay. How was the baby doing?
Baby was doing okay. He was not on oxygen. He had some minor feeding issues, but other than that, he was fine.
Okay. Did baby have any complications from the birth?
He had contracted something from mom that required antibiotics, 10 to 14-day treatment. Other than that, I believe he was fine.
Okay. And he did go through that treatment?
Yes, Willow completed the treatment.
Okay. Was meconium taken at that time?
Meconium was collected for testing.
Okay. During your investigation, was that still pending or did that ever come back?
The meconium did return and indicated Willow was positive for methamphetamine and marijuana.
Did the department try to work with mom to prevent a removal?
Yes, we did.
And what steps did you take for that?
Initially, we tried to implement a safety plan requiring Ms. Williams to be supervised while she was caring for Willow. She was unable to provide us an individual that would pass a background to be a supervising party. Okay. We also tried to offered her a family team meeting as well, and she declined.
Okay. Did the mother tell you who the possible father was?
Initially, mom indicated an individual by the name of Troy, Hugh or Huff, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, was the father, but later indicated he was not.
Okay. Due to mother refusing services and not having a safety placement that could work for a safety plan and drug screen results from the baby, did the department deem it necessary or in the best interest of the child to remove the child?
Yes, we did.
And do you believe that that was in the best interest of the child?
Yes, I believe so.
Was mom cooperative with you throughout your investigation?
Her cooperation was sporadic. She'd start off cooperating, stop cooperating, so forth.
But due to what you've testified to, you do believe it was in the best interest of the child to remove?
Yes.
Later on, you said mom, excuse me, mom later said that Troy Huff was not the father. Did she give you any other names at that time?
She did not.
So at the ending of your involvement in the case, that was the only name you had received?
That is correct.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Archer?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Morales.
Sorry, Judge, no questions.
Ms. Kincaid?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Hill?
No questions.
Ms. Lucero?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Avella?
Mr. Flores, there were a few times in your previous testimony that I believe you may have misspoken and you said he in regards to Willow. Willow is a female child, correct?
That is correct. I did mistake.
Okay. So when you were referring to the baby as a he, that was just a misstatement.
Correct.
Okay. Pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Trout, anything further for Mr. Flores?
Nothing.
Your Honor, for the record, I do not have any questions.
I'm sorry, did I skip you, Ms. Sapien? I apologize.
Not a problem.
There's a whole lot of you in this one. My apologies. All right, Mr. Trout, nothing further. Anybody else have anything further for Mr. Flores?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, Mr. Flores, then you are free to leave at this time if you want to go on about your day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Trout, who's your next witness?
Yolanda Novak, Your Honor. And how are you familiar with that case?
I'm the permanency specialist for Willow. The case was passed over to me sometime in the middle of the case.
But you reviewed the file in this case in your time working it?
Yes, I have.
You were here previous for our testimony, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And you heard Mr. Flores state that when he ended his investigation, mom had only given the one name?
Correct.
Did mom give St. Francis more names of possible fathers?
Yes, right before I received the case, I believe that's when I don't know if it was during court or not, but when we staffed the case, I was notified that there was other dads that could be possible dads.
Okay. One of the names was Nick Langham?
Yes.
Throughout your reviewing the file prior and throughout your case working, have you been able to locate Nick Langham?
I have not. I did a finder search, and without his date of birth or social, I got no hits on him.
Okay. And do you routinely try to check and find the named fathers in these cases?
Yes, I would ask Vanessa for any contact information that she had when I met with her.
Did mom have any information on Nick Langham?
No. She told me that with most of them, she would have contact through social media with them. And, I gave her my phone number to let her know to have them call me or send me their number so I could contact them. And I've never heard back on him or any of them.
Okay. Mom also gave the name of, is it Bryce Ames? Is that
correct?
And were you ever able to find any information on him?
No, sir.
You run background checks, searches?
Yes, I did a finder search on him as well. No hits.
Okay. Mom ever give you any information of how to contact him?
No, sir.
Is that the same? She would use social media?
That's what she said, sir. Yes.
Okay. What about Justin Edwards? Did you ever run any background checks for him?
Just the finder search.
Okay. Were you ever able to find any information on him?
No, sir.
Did mom tell you that she contacted with him through social media?
Yes.
Did you do the same, give your information to pass along to him?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, sir. On Nick Langham, can you back up?
Sure.
I forgot. I did have, she did give me a phone number for him.
Okay.
And I did get an address for him. When I called, I verified the address, and then when the investigator went out to notify him, the resident of the home said that he did not live there. And then I tried to recontact him by phone, and he had blocked my number. And I had Vanessa call him on her phone, and he blocked her as well and wouldn't answer.
Okay. Do you know approximately when that was?
I don't off the top of my head. I would have to look it up. I apologize. Do you want me to look it up, sir?
Yeah, if you could just, well, just approximately, was that at the beginning of the case or was that further on into the case when that happened?
Too long after I received the case. So it would have been last spring. And no, that's not
The spring of
concrete
2023? Sorry.
Yes, sir.
But on that number, you said it was blocked?
Yes, the first time I attempted it, I did contact him, and that's how I verified the address. And the second time, he had blocked it.
Okay, so you did have at least one conversation with Nick Langland?
Yes, sir, I did.
And so he was aware of kind of what was going on, but then blocked your number?
Yes, we were. Yes, I did ask him if he would do paternity, and he said he would, and then he ghosted.
Okay. And just for the record, by ghosted mean you never talked to him again?
I'm sorry. Yes, you couldn't contact him again after that.
Okay, and have never heard from him or been able to get in contact with him since?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay. Back to Mr. Edwards.
Okay.
No information, no contact numbers were ever given for him?
No, nothing for him.
Nothing on social media you were able to contact with? Mom never relayed back any information to you?
No, she did not.
Okay. Miles Watkins, were you ever able to find any information on him?
No, sir, and I did a finder search on him as well.
Okay. Did mom have any more contact with him that you know of?
She's no, she just through social media, she would tell me sometimes that she'd talk to him and that he wanted to contact me, but he never has. And I asked her multiple times for a number for him, and he wouldn't give it to her, or she wouldn't give it to me, but I didn't have a way to contact him.
And you said nothing on a finder search ever came back on him?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, we also have a unknown father named into this case. Did mom ever give you any other information on any possible names?
No, sir, just the ones that were listed.
Okay. So currently we still have Nick Langham, Bryce Ains, Justin Edwards, Miles Watkins, and the unknown father. Those are all the potential fathers that you have information that could possibly be fathers, alleged fathers.
But in Landon.
Yes, ma'am. And Landon was found not to be the father, so
yeah.
we dismissed him
Right.
out.
But he's the only other one, sir.
Okay. All right. Did you receive the exhibits I sent out?
Don't know what you're referring to, sir.
Did you receive, and I believe I sent, let me make sure. Can you tell me what exhibit number 1 is?
Affidavit of voluntary relinquishment of parental rights to the Department of Family and Protective Services for Vanessa Williams.
Okay. And did mom, Vanessa Williams, execute affidavit of voluntary relinquishment on the 27th day of November, 2023?
Yes, sir.
And have you had the opportunity to review the relinquishment?
Yes, sir.
Did the respondent mother, did she sign the relinquishment?
Yes, sir.
Were there 2 witnesses to it?
Yes, sir.
Is it notarized?
Yes, sir, it is.
Did the department sign the consent to designate as managing conservator?
Yes, sir.
And was it filed with the court on March 25th of 2024?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit exhibit number 1, which is the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment of mother Vanessa Williams as to the child.
All right, any objection?
No, ma'am.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, petitioner's exhibit 1 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Novak, is the court, or excuse me, is the department today asking the court to terminate the parental rights of the mother Vanessa Williams as to the child based solely upon the affidavit of voluntary relinquishment?
Yes,
And do you believe that's in the best interest of the child?
I do.
And just for the record, we only terminating on those grounds, not on any other grounds. We're waiving all grounds other than that.
Right.
Could you look at exhibit number 2 for me?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell me what the exhibit number 2 is?
It's a certificate of attorney registry for Willow Williams.
And does that state whether anyone has intended to claim paternity as to the child?
And it doesn't, I don't see where it would state that.
Does it say no notice of intent to claim paternity?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes,
So nobody has registered with the paternity registry as to Willow.
correct.
Is the department today asking to terminate the parental rights of the alleged fathers and the unknown father based upon their failure to register with the paternity registry?
Yes,
There was also an issue. Mom stated kind of late in the case that she possibly had some Indian heritage. Is that your understanding?
yes, I believe it was back in June that she made me aware of it.
And so we extended in order to take care of, notify the tribes to see if we had any ICWA issues. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, I would ask the court to take judicial notice on the letter filed with the court. Sorry, I got it. On February 9th of 2024. It is a letter of compliance with the Indian Child Welfare Act. It's a letter from the Blackfeet Nation tribe stating that they have no enrollment records of the mother and child in that case.
All right, counsel, any objection to my taking judicial notice of the letter from the Blackfeet Nation?
No objection.
No objection.
No, Your Honor.
Then I will take judicial notice of the ICWA filing and the attached letter from the Blackfeet Nation indicating that they had searched their rolls and that they were not able to find mother or children on the rolls. They further defined that it would require a quarter Blackfeet blood and that the children were not eligible for enrollment. So I'll find also that the department has complied with the proper ICWA notice.
Thank you, Adam. Ms. Novak, how is the child doing?
Willow's doing very well. She's talking more and she's very active, growing, happy in her placement, bonded well with her foster parents and the other children in the home.
At this time, is the foster placement a long-term placement?
Yes, it is.
Are they already licensed?
Yes, they are.
And is their intention to adopt Willow if that becomes available?
Yes, they'd like to.
And do you believe that terminating the parental rights based upon what we have talked about already is in the best interest of the Willow in order to allow her to be adopted?
Yes, I do.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Does the department rest?
Department rest.
Okay. All right, Ms. Archer, anything to present today?
Nothing to present.
All right, do you rest?
I rest.
Mr. Morales?
No witnesses, Your Honor. I'd rest.
Okay, and Ms. Kincaid?
No witnesses, Your Honor. I'd rest.
Mr. Hill?
No witnesses, I rest.
Ms. Sapien?
No witnesses, Your Honor. I'll rest.
All right, and Ms. Lucero?
No witnesses, Your Honor. I'll rest also.
Ms. Zavala?
No witnesses, I rest.
All right, Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation?
I do, Your Honor. I do believe it's in Willow's best interest that the parental rights be terminated based on the affidavit of relinquishment and the failure to register. Willow is doing wonderfully in her placement, and I do recommend that continue until the adoption can be finalized.
All right, thank you. Okay, everybody close?
Closure.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Close.
Close, Your Honor.
All right, then, even though I think I've already covered this, but just so it'll all be nice and neat in my ruling, I do find that the child is not an Indian child as defined under ICWA. I find by clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between the child and her mother, Vanessa Williams, solely based on the mother's voluntary affidavit of relinquishment of parental rights under Texas Family Code 161.001, subsection B1K, and of course the best interest under 161.001B2. I also find by clear and convincing evidence it's in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights if any of all of the alleged fathers, including the unknown father, based on Texas Family Code 161.002B3, their failure to register with the paternity registry. At this time, I will name the department as permanent managing conservator of the child. I'll dismiss all court-appointed attorneys from the case after the de novo and appellate timeframes expire. with the exception of Ms. Zavala, who will remain as the child's attorney and guardian ad litem. Council, as always, be advised that your de novo does begin to run since I've rendered an open court, and also please do not file a notice of appeal if you're instructed to do so until a final order has been signed and adopted by the referring court. All right, I appreciate everybody. Thank you all for coming back today so we could maybe simplify just a tiny bit. And everybody have a good rest of your day, unless you're still with me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.